You know, you could tell that the Panasonic S1 Mark II, the S1R Mark II, the Sony FX3, I don't know, maybe it's the number 2, but you could tell that these cameras have already kind of gone by the wayside. Like, I don't think they're going to do really well in terms of sales. I mean, I don't know, but it certainly doesn't seem like anybody's talking about them anymore. Like, it was this big thing, embargo time, everybody's talking about it, everybody's arguing about it, then overheating issues. Like, I feel like people are still using the FX3. I feel like people are still using the A7S3. I feel like people are still using the original S5 or the S5 2X or the S5 II. But I think a lot of people are still using the S1H Panasonic. I know quite a few people are using the new Nikon, but I think that these cameras really have maxed out. I think that, like, I don't think people are really anticipating cameras so much anymore, like newer cameras. I mean, there's so much there already, you know? I mean, I don't think anybody wants to spend $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 on a camera with tariffs and all this kind of stuff, and, you know, then you have to deal with the fact that if you want to get rid of it, it's going to be hard to sell it on the secondary market, you know, the used market. Like, I just think that the focus is going to move from cameras back to what do you actually do with the cameras. And actually, that's a good thing. I think, you know, when I first started looking at YouTube a long time ago, and I was looking for my first camera, I kind of got it between the Canon M50 and the Sony a6400. And I think at that time, I think that was a common kind of decision between those two. I think those were the two cameras that were really popular at that time. The a6400 was like a groundbreaking camera in certain ways, and the M50 was like really well respected. And, you know, for beginners, for people just getting into it, getting a new camera. And I noticed the videos at that time were more about how to use the camera. There were filmmaking channels that were really, really educational. You know, there were spec channels, and then there were channels on how to actually use the gear. There were channels that, you know, people were going into these amazing places and shooting all this B-roll, but talking about the aperture of the lenses and how many elements were in the lens, and talking about, you know, autofocus with regards to how to get these shots that they were doing. It wasn't just, I don't know, it was just a different energy. It's a much different energy, and there were far more camera influencers at that time. And they were making amazing videos. And they were, you know, really like epic educational videos. I learned a lot from them. You know, there were people like Brandon Lee doing these amazing videos, and he was a gimbal guy. But he was really like a real filmmaker, like a real director, a real shooter. Like, he was doing incredible work. I remember one of the first videos I saw of his was a video called Andalusia, and it was about the city of Andalusia. And it was just a beautiful story, a beautiful video. I felt like I really got to know that city. But at the same time, I became very interested in his channel because he also showed how to use the gimbal and what kind of footage you can get out of it. And, you know, it's funny, ultimately, I don't even use a gimbal because I don't really like the way it looks, but I love his videos. So he's somebody who really knows how to use it. Like, his stuff doesn't look contrived or set up. It's not overly smooth. He knows what he's doing. You know, I think he knows what he wants in his head, and he uses the gimbal just to make that easier for him, but he doesn't lean on it. So I watched a lot of his stuff. Everybody was using gimbals at that time. It became a big thing. Like the Weebill S was like a gigantic gimbal at that time. People were watching a million videos about that gimbal. I still have the Weebill S. I mean, I haven't used it in 4 years or something like that, but I have it, and I bought it at that time, and it was great. You know, it's a great gimbal. I don't think gimbals have really moved forward all that much. You know, they're still pretty much the same size. They pretty much all do the same thing. You know, you can hook it up to your app, or you can have it, you know, control your camera from the actual gimbal. You can turn record on. You can, you know, they can track you now a little bit better. But they haven't really moved forward, just like I don't feel like cameras have really moved forward all that much, you know? I mean, I guess autofocus has made great strides, especially at Panasonic, you know, Lumix cameras. But I don't think that they're much better, these cameras. I don't think the image quality is much better. I don't think the ease of use is much better. I don't think they've improved things like the battery life. I guess stabilization is a little bit better, but not really that much. People are still using vintage lenses and anamorphic lenses. I guess anamorphic lenses have become more affordable. They do have full frame anamorphic lenses. They have autofocus anamorphic lenses. So I think anamorphic has progressed quite a bit, made it more accessible to, you know, people who are not, you know, Hollywood filmmakers with a $25 million budget. I mean, now anybody could have an anamorphic lens. But people are still using vintage lenses, and you know, I don't think people are like so obsessed with getting perfect sharp lenses anymore. Like at that time, Sigma, I remember the 16mm f1.4 APS-C Sigma lens was like the lens from God. You know, like everybody had to have it. It was incredible. It was the greatest. It's just another lens, you know, and now I think that's the way it's looked at, just another lens, because all the lenses are the same. You know, you look through, it's really about the focal length and how much aperture flexibility is on the lens. That's about it, you know, character, stuff like that. You could argue about it, but it really doesn't make that much of a difference. It really doesn't. You could buy a cheap-ass lens and do a much better project than somebody who's got some, you know, $4,000 G-Master lens. You could get the same image quality. I mean, maybe if you pixel peep and go to the very, very edges of the frame, and if you do like that, then maybe there's a difference. But, you know, you would be like all by yourself and caring about that, I think, because more people will be, you know, thinking about what they feel like from watching the video or a film. What the story is like. See, it all comes back to humanity. It all comes back to how can a filmmaker make you feel? Can they make you laugh? Can they make you afraid if it's a horror film? Can they make you feel, get in your feels if it's a drama, a love story, a story of somebody who's got an illness, a story of overcoming obstacles, a coming of age story? Like, it all comes down to how can the filmmaker make you feel? And the lens, the camera, all of that, it doesn't matter. All of that matters in that it might make it easier for the filmmaker to get to what he wants, to tell the story. It might make it more convenient. Battery life is better. Stuff like that can make it easier. Rolling shutter if you're doing a lot of, you know, quick panning and stuff like that. But I mean, ultimately, I feel like we're coming back to storytelling. But what's fucked up is that AI is taking that over. Like, people are going to ChatGPT to, you know, put in a little synopsis and then say, write me a 50-page script. And they get this great script, and then they even get great voices, and they can even get avatars, and there's so much you could do with AI. But do you want to? Do you really want to do that? Do you really want to give that power away? Do you want to give that part of you that's so special and unique away? Do you want to just hand that to AI? I mean, regardless of that, we're getting back to stories, you know. We're getting back to documentary filmmaking, I think, is rising, because I think that's really important right now, to be able to make documentaries, to be able to tell the story and document what's happening around us, because so many things are changing in our world. And man, that's like a really important genre of filmmaking right now, I think. But at the end of the day, it's still the same thing. It's about story. There are people using old cameras to do documentaries because they look awesome. They look great, as long as you know what you're doing. Dual native ISO is a great thing, makes things easier. But then again, if you're shooting with like a GH5 or a GH5S or something like that, you can really raise the ISO on that. So you don't need the dual native ISO. The noise that comes out of the image quality from those cameras is actually really pleasing. So yeah, I mean, man, things are really changing. I don't see a lot of the influencers that I used to see making videos anymore, because they know nobody cares about, you know, gear anymore all that much. Like, we have so much gear. There are so many lenses, so many cameras, so many microphones. How many wireless microphones can exist in the world? Like, how many companies are doing what DJI did first, or Hollyland, or whatever? Like, how many more of these can they make? How many shotgun mics can they make? You know, how many monitors? I mean, come on, external monitors for video? I mean, there's so many monitors. Like, how many different companies, and how, you know, they're getting cheaper and cheaper. You could buy it for $80 and have a great monitor. I mean, why would you buy a Blackmagic Assist or, you know, one of these expensive monitors for what? Why are you going to spend that kind of money when you can get these much less expensive monitors that are equally as capable? Are they 100% as capable? Maybe not, I don't know. But you can get some 2500 nit, everything false color, you know, like everything in it, anamorphic, you know, de-squeeze, like there's so much available. So they can't, why are they making any more of those? Nobody's going, oh, I got a great idea, let's make a monitor. No, I got a better idea, let's make a gimbal. Like, we got everything. We have everything we need. I mean, I'm glad. I mean, I'm sure B&H is not happy about that, although B&H is smart because they sell all electronics, so they don't care what happens with cameras. It doesn't hurt them. You know, their music, their cameras, their appliances, their everything. They do everything. You know, but, you know, if you're depending upon gear, if you're a camera store, stuff like that, you might have to focus on fixing cameras, cleaning cameras, selling used gear, renting gear, doing workshops, building community. I don't know. I think the focus is coming back to where it originally started. Like, way back before there were any of these pieces of gear, storytellers were like, what other way can I tell a story? You know, visionaries were thinking, how can I like share this with the community in a way that's not just theater, where I'm not just standing with my body in the middle of a town square sharing a story? How can I really like do something that's like, I don't know, let's call it a movie, and put it up on a screen and put it in a big space that all the people in the community can gather in together and sit in seats and share food together and have this experience as one, as a community, as a town, as a village, and then discuss it afterwards. And now we've all had this common experience, and we can all talk about it for weeks afterwards at the grocery store, at the dentist, at the doctor, at the whatever. You know, like we have so much in common now, we can share. And then theater can expand, you know. How can I create something that saves memories, like a photography book, you know, photographs, a camera that takes still photography that can live forever. You know, I can freeze a moment and make that live forever and pass it on for generations. Let's build a camera. It's all about stories. You know, all this stuff came because people wanted to maintain and keep and pass on these stories. And I think that's what's happening now. I think that, you know, all the gear stuff, all the technology, the advancement, everything that has been invented and created and built upon and expounded upon, and, you know, like, it's all cool. It's all cool, but I think it's done. I think we've done enough. I'm using a Panasonic S5. I don't need another camera. Honestly, I wouldn't mind having a great autofocus camera. I don't need it. But I don't know what it would do for me. Like, I don't know how that would affect my filmmaking because I don't use it ever. I'm not using it now. Maybe I'm a little out of focus because I'm shooting at f4, but I think I'm cool. But I mean, I don't know, autofocus might open me up to doing other things with my filmmaking, but I don't need it. The S5, I could use this camera forever. I'm about to buy 2 more of them for this film I'm working on because I'm totally ecstatic with my S5. I love my camera. I love my lenses, all vintage lenses and 3 anamorphic lenses. It's all I have except for the 20 to 60 kit lens, just because I wanted to have, you know, a zoom lens in a pinch, just in case. But do I ever use it? Hardly ever. Right now I'm shooting with the Minolta 28mm f2.8, old vintage lens. It's all manual. I love it so much. It's so flexible. 28 millimeters is close to what cell phones look like. So I was used to shooting at 27, 28 millimeters when I first got a camera. And I noticed that I was drawn to 28 millimeters. And then I understood why, because I've been doing stuff with my phone. But it's all about telling story and how you see the world and how you want to express yourself. And it's not about feeling bad because you don't have the best specs. Oh my God, I need more megapixels. Man, you don't need even one more megapixel. You don't need 100 more. Like, you're good. You're good. Man, I need better rolling shutter performance. I need better dynamic range. You got plenty of dynamic range, you know. Oh my God, big, big birds flying around here. Anyway, I'm glad it's happening. I'm glad. I mean, I'm not happy for the influencers who might be losing something that they've had for quite a while because people don't care as much anymore. But I also know that they have a lot of evergreen videos, you know, videos that are going to last forever, because when people just first want to get into this, they're going to go back and look for videos like that to learn how to use these cameras, unless AI makes it, you know, like I saw a commercial today that said, no need for expensive cameras. Just use this AI program. Okay, you know what? No, I hate that. No need for expensive cameras? What they meant was no need for cameras. Just use AI. No, don't do that. I hate that. I have hatred in my heart for that. So anyway, I'm glad we're getting back to story. I'm glad we're getting back to documentary, narrative, stories, you know, things that we can pass down from generation to generation. You know, who's your favorite person in your family? It's the one who tells the best stories. You know that's true. So, yeah. That's my daily diary thing for today. Please subscribe. Please hit the like button. Please consider joining my Patreon. That would be awesome. Go to my website, get to know who I am, learn about me. Maybe you want to buy some prints. I have some art that you could take home and put on your wall. Go buy some beautiful, you know, vintage frame. Go to places like Old Good Things on 125th Street, or I think there's one up in Connecticut too, Stamford, Connecticut maybe. That's a place that sells antiques and old cool stuff. And they have these old vintage frames that are beautiful. So you could take one of my prints and mat it properly and get it framed and have something really cool on the wall. And it's this archival paper that lives forever, like 150 years, really thick. It's kind of like a surrealistic expression of my photography that looks kind of like a painting. Like, you can't tell if this is a painting or a photograph. It's very close to the JPEG, but not. So, but I digress. So thanks for watching, and I will see you on tomorrow's, you know, tomorrow's daily diary thingy. All right, talk to you later. That's all I got to say about all of that.